OK, this is getting silly now. We're not seriously saying that the Prime Minister should be brought down by a 10-minute cake-eating celebration on the day of his birthday after a work meeting. Are we really? Even though it was a surprise that he had no idea about, even though no alcohol was consumed, even though Russia could declare war on Ukraine within weeks, even though we are facing a cost of living crisis, even though the migrant crisis on the Channel remains a massive unsolved issue, as does the prospect of domestic terrorism, even though the civil service slob blob are refusing to go back to the office, even though the scientific establishment are refusing to accept responsibility for nearly plunging us into a totally unnecessary Christmas lockdown that would have destroyed lives and livelihoods. That's all going on right now. But all the BBC, ITV News, Sky News, Channel 4 News and the rest want to talk about is a bloody cake.
In number 10, acknowledge this. There was a gathering of people, there was a birthday cake, there was singing. That was illegal.
When people see the Prime Minister stand up in Parliament, as he did at the start of December, and categorically say there was no party, knowing full well that he was in Downing Street when there was a cake there.
No, but exactly. that barrister was making it clear that the facts that have been reported and confirmed, so the gathering took place, there was a cake, it had been brought in.
Will this be part of the Sue Gray report?
Yes, and Sue Gray was already aware of a birthday cake being given to the PM and the circumstances.
And as I say, food laid out. I mean, we need to say also food was laid out from, I understand, Marks and Spencer's.
Have been established, haven't they? Certainly with June the 19th, it's not denied there was a gathering. It's not denied there was a birthday cake. Happy birthday was sung. A number of people gathered.
Do you know the BBC's Today programme spent 10 minutes talking about that cake? 10 minutes. Without asking Shaps about one other issue, including Ukraine. Tory MP Edward Lee summed up how I was feeling in the House today.
When Europe stands on the brink of war and there is a cost of living crisis, can we please have a sense of proportion over the Prime Minister being given a piece of cake in his own office by his own staff?
4 key words there, a sense of proportion. Because, look, I'm not saying there are not serious questions for Boris Johnson to answer. There are. I've said that from the moment it emerged that his boozy staff had regularly broken the lockdown rules that he imposed on the rest of us mugs. As I've said time and again, the law was an ass, unrealistic, inhumane, and we must all campaign against such draconian restrictions ever being inflicted on us again. Remember, I was one of the only people in the media loudly campaigning against those laws at the time. But there are serious questions that need to be asked about why the media establishment is so determined to bring down Boris Johnson now. Many in the media knew these parties were taking place at the time. At least one senior journalist even attended one of the parties. So why are these stories coming out now? At the time when Boris has finally stared down the lockdown fanatics and is planning to open up the country. At a time when Boris has finally stood up to the establishment thanks to the brilliant and brave backbench rebels. Something he should have done long ago, by the way. Perhaps the Partygate issue will be the end of Boris Johnson politically. I mean, I'll be honest, as it stands, it does feel difficult to see him fighting another election. But, and this is a big but, you would have said the same thing about Thatcher and Blair at the peak of their midterm slumps. And they both went on to win another election. Margaret Thatcher won too, actually. So what I'm very clear on is that this process should not be driven by a craven mainstream broadcast media that has been openly hostile to Brexit and Boris since 2016. And when it comes to the presentation of a cake, I think the mainstream media has overplayed its hand this time. And I think they've finally shown their cards. They want Boris out at any cost and will do whatever they can to make that happen. But the decision is down to Tory MPs who must block out the media hysteria and carefully analyse the results of the Sue Gray inquiry, which could come as early as tomorrow, by the way. And they must do that before deciding whether to send their letters and force a vote of no confidence. I think to do so now, at a time of crisis, and at a moment where we can prove to the world that the UK is emerging from this pandemic once and for all, Well, I think to do that now would be a folly.